Thank you for downloading this demo video of PMP certification course by Excellentro Consulting Services LLP. This is a demo program. It consists of about Excellentro, about the trainer, that is me. Subject matter, we will go through the first chapter of the PMP course, the course details, how to contact us if you want to take courses from our organization, and we'll go through a few client testimonials that we have received. Excellentro was established in 2012, headquartered in Bangalore, by a group of experienced professionals in the industry. We are an emerging global provider of project, program and portfolio management consulting and training services. We have been working with various organizations in various domains and government in India and outside India to help them take care of organizational development challenges and competency building. We have classroom training and virtual classes, and we are going ahead with the online courses also. The trainers who trains on each of these subjects are all 10 plus years of experience, and they have actually implemented the various subjects in their work, and they also have a long training experience. We are fortunate to have 100% of our people to pass in the first shot itself. My name is Neeladri Chaudhary. I have 25 plus years of experience in consulting and training, and I was leading the project portfolio management practice in Satyam earlier. I have been consulting in areas of project portfolio management, program management, project management, setting up PMOs, IT governance, business operations improvement across various organizations across the world, as well as over various domains. My certifications include PMP, Prince 2 Practitioner, Management of Portfolio Practitioner, ITIL Expert, COBIT 5 and Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. I also have knowledge of PMIX certification and have taken trainings on those. I'm a PhD in project management and an MBA in operations research. I've been doing training since 1990 and have a good understanding of the training. Now let us get into the first chapter, which is the project management basics. Now PMBOK defines project as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service or result. So what does temporary mean? Temporary means that it has to have a definite start and a definite end. That means that it is not going to be a repetitive ongoing work. So if we look at implementation of a ERP system, a drug discovery, or constructing a bridge or a dam, all these have a definite start and an end date. It is temporary in nature. Whereas if we look at maintenance of software or maintenance of hardware is concerned, it is an ongoing repetitive work, and that is operations. Each project should generate a unique product, service or result. Now what does unique mean? Each of those outcome or product will be unique. Say for example, a ERP implementation for a company X is going to be unique than the same modules, same ERP implemented for another organization. There may be ways the chart of accounts is defined, can be different, the way of making the accounting entries may be different, the reporting requirement may be different, the location in which the people will be accessing this software may be different. If we look at a bridge construction, every bridge, even if it is of the same size, because of the geographical condition, because of the situation at hand at that particular location, it will be different. So it is unique. So if we look at a son's birthday or a vacation that we want to plan, it is also a project. It has a definite start and end date. It has a unique outcome. So what is product, service, or result? Product means a tangible deliverable. A product can be a software, a product can be a bridge, a dam, a building, or launching a rocket to Mars. All these are products. What is service? The training that I am providing, it is a service. We take consulting engagements or services from various organizations, that is a service. So what is a result? Sometimes we don't need a product or a service, but we need a feasibility report. Now that feasibility report is a result of the feasibility study that we do. Now these are the three different types of outcomes that is possible for project. So we have service, outcome, and product. One more concept that we need to understand is progressive elaboration. Now what does progressive elaboration mean? It means that we progressively elaborate. So at the very beginning, when we are getting the project charter or when we got a SOW or a contract, we actually have got the overall boundary or scope of the project. We do not have the detailed requirements of the project. Hence, we cannot plan the complete project in details. We can plan only to the extent that we know. So we have the concepts. Then we start interacting with the stakeholders. We have discussions, we get into the details, we observe, we get the reports and documentations that are being maintained. All these are done and we do studies about the subject and we create the project scope statement. So at the beginning of the project, we give a gut feel of what the project will be about, how much of it will be, what is the estimation, what is the duration, all those. It is at the rough order of magnitude. There can be a very large deviation from that estimation to the one that we finally get after we complete our scope definition. So what we do is, in the project schedule, when we plan, we put down only the names, the interviews that we set up of these key stakeholders that we find in the SOW or in the charter or in the document with which we start off the project. As we talk to them, we get to know more about the other stakeholders. We set up those interviews and gradually we keep progressively planning. Once we get those information, we get into the requirements definition. Once we get into the requirements gathering stage, we plan out the requirements gathering. But once we complete requirements gathering, then we can go and detail out the design part of the design phase plans. So gradually we keep on increasing or progressively elaborating the project plan and the project schedule that we have made. So what is project management? Project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools and techniques to project activities in order to meet and exceed stakeholder needs and expectations from the project. So what is the knowledge? Knowledge is what you are getting now. That is the best practices, the project management principles that are being followed. What is the skills? The skills are something which you develop due to your experience. And then there are the different tools and techniques which we will talk about in each of the knowledge areas as we go through the detailed course. So when you use your knowledge, your skill, your tools and techniques that you have learned to deliver a project, it is project management. And we need to meet or exceed stakeholder needs. Now what is meet or exceed? Meet is fine, we know that there is an expectation which has been signed off and you deliver it. However, we are also talking about exceeding stakeholder needs. How do you exceed stakeholder expectation? At the same time, we also know that we say that you cannot have a gold plating. That is, you cannot give more than what you have agreed. Then how do you exceed stakeholder expectation? This is something which we will see in details when we go into the quality part of it. It is about fit for purpose and fit for use. You can have the best of the car. It has all the features that you can imagine of. Best music system, best home theater system in the car, all kinds of sensors and alerts that the car gives. It runs perfectly smoothly. It is soundless when you are sitting inside. It doesn't give you the jerks of the Indian roads when you go through. Everything, it goes. It is a car. It has wheels, it has an engine, it has place to sit, it can transport you from one place to the other. So it meets your expectation. But the car takes or runs in 1 gallon of fuel only 1 kilometer. Is it fit for use? It is fit for the purpose, but it is not fit for use. Think of a situation where you have a existing customer who has a form which is filled up and you are automating that data entry form, a form into a screen where people can enter the data from the physical form. Now this form that you have designed on the screen has every element that is there in the physical paper form. However, it is not in the same sequence. So there is a long queue standing outside and the person at the counter is looking at the form, looking at searching in the whole screen where that particular element is and then entering, which is taking a lot more time and would have been much more fit for use if the sequencing of those elements were also done as per the physical form based on which the entry will be done. This is just a small example of how you exceed expectation. Sometimes certain requirements are not being mentioned explicitly, but you need to take care of it. Like for example, if it is a monetary field, unless specified, it should not be something which should allow a negative value. Does the customer need to tell about it? No. If there is some element that you are bringing in and that there is a master for that element, does it require you to tell that you need to validate it against the database that is already existing? Say for example, a customer. Is the customer existing or not existing? You need to validate it. Do you need to tell that? No. You create a report. Does anybody need to say that this report should come out within a reasonable time? Like say for example, within 2 seconds or 5 seconds max. Or you generate a report, somebody clicks on the report and it generates after 15 minutes. I can go out and have a coffee and a couple of biscuits maybe, or people who smokes can go out for a smoke and come back. Now those are things which are not specified but expected that you will do it, and that's how you exceed the stakeholders' expectation. Project management is about managing the people, managing the stakeholders. And hence, there is a lot of general management skills which are required for a project manager to have. It is a combination of the professional skill, that is the project management related skill sets, and general management skill sets. A project manager does not really require the technical skills. If it is there, it is better. And that's the reason why you will see PMI theoretically says that a project manager who can manage a IT project can also manage a building a dam, because the project management aspects are same. But that is not something which we are used to. We see a project manager who is the best person, SME who knows the domain, is the best solution architect who knows the solution, is the best coder and can solve any problem of the coding. But are those things which the project manager is expected to do? No. During the course, we will see what all are the activities of the project managers, and hence we see that there is a lot of general management skill that the project manager needs. This is one area of concern during the exam also, because when we see the questions are based on the best practices that PMI has mentioned in its PM bar. That means that there is a lot of things which might be different from what we do on our regular day-to-day activities. So we should not think of what we do in the office in our work. We should remember what PMI is stating in the PM box as the activities that a project manager should do. Please be clear about it and be conscious about it. And that is one of the reasons that what I feel is that when we sit for the exam, generally what we think as the first answer is the right answer, because when we start thinking more, we start comparing it with what we do in our office, and that's when we change a right answer to a wrong answer. So be very careful about it. So in terms of different skill sets that is required, project manager should know have some idea of accounting. He doesn't need to be a great accountant, but he should understand a little bit of accounting, because he has to interact with the accounts for various purposes. We'll see down the line why we require that. Procurement. The project manager needs to understand a little bit of procurement, because he is one of the key players in getting some procurement, where in a project you have to outsource or buy things from vendors. Project manager should have some idea of sales and marketing. He should have idea of contracting abilities. Generally, most of the organizations, the contracting is done by the procurement department or the legal department, but still project managers are involved, and more so in a non-IT project, definitely yes. Should have idea of manufacturing and distribution principles, organization and logistics. Should have idea of strategic, tactical and operation planning. Now what is strategic? What is tactical? What is operational? Generally I tend to get answers which are like strategic is long term and operational is very short term. No, it is not about long or short term. Strategic is about what to do. A company decides that it will start its operation in Singapore. So that is a strategic decision. That is what it wants to do. Then the next set of people goes and does, that is your senior managers will go and do the tactical evaluation. That is, if I have to start my operation in Singapore, how should I do it? So we had what to do, now it is how to do. That is, should I open a new company from scratch where we take each and every member, employ them and train them and then start working, or should I acquire somebody which is already there? That decision is tactical decision, and once it is decided that, let's say that we will acquire some company there and then build on it, then the operational team, that is the middle managers or junior managers, will go and now start negotiating. First of all, identifying the prospective companies which can be acquired, then start negotiating with them, understand the process of or the challenges of integrating them into your system, into your organization. So after all, those groundwork is done at the operational level. So you have what, you have how, and then the execution, which is operational planning. We have to leverage the organizational structure and organization behavior. The objective of the project manager is only one: successful delivery of project. Project manager does not care about anything else. He or she needs to make sure that he is able to deliver his project. Now if for that, the project manager needs to understand the organizational structure, because he needs to understand within the organization who are the people who can influence, who are the people who can give him support, who are the people who are not going to give support, and you need somebody else to influence them to give the support. You need resources. You don't get resources. You ask for experienced resources, you get freshers. How do you make sure that you get your right resources? You have to use your knowledge of the organization structure and your interpersonal skills with them to get that. You need to understand the organizational behavior. Some organizations are very formal, some organizations are not so formal. In a formal organization, if you think that you will be able to get things done just by talking about it or discussing about it, it might not happen. You need to put proper mail and documentation to get everything that you need. Whereas in an informal organization, if you are sending mails for every small thing that you need, they may think that you are escalating everywhere. So you have to understand the organizational behavior, the culture within the organization, the politics within the organization. Administration of project team, reasonable compensation, rewards and recognition, and career path. Most probably in IT industry, all of these are not within the capacity of the project manager, but in a lot of it the project manager can influence. So should be able to be transparently evaluating and providing those factors which motivates his team. The idea is that the team has to be motivated to deliver to their best of their capabilities. Non-IT projects requires health and safety standards and regulations. Project manager needs to understand that what is the health and safety standard and regulations that needs to be followed. And project manager needs to be a bit of tech savvy so that he can utilize IT to its advantage in project management. Project manager deals with people in every interaction that it does. He deals with customer, he deals with his team, he deals with his internal boss, he deals with his organization, with the customer's organization, with the vendor's organization, vendor's team. Everywhere it is people. He needs to have very good and effective communication skills. He should be able to effectively communicate, because 90% of the project manager's time is spent on communication, and this is the single most important factor. We will see in details about communication when we come to the communication knowledge area. He should be able to lead. He's a leader. he has to lead. And the new terminology that has come up mainly from the agile side is the servant leader. That means he is a leader but also a servant to his team. That means he is a leader who is there not to dictate but to facilitate the team members so that they can perform to the best of their ability. He should be able to influence the organization. He should know the right people. He should have good relationship with the people and be able to influence the organization. He should be able to motivate his team. He should be able to solve problems, whether it is with the customer, whether it is with the vendor, whether it is within the organization, within the team. He has to have the problem solving capability. We'll see these details in the HR knowledge area, human resource knowledge area. He has to have a lot of negotiation skills because he is negotiating every day with the people. Client wants something tomorrow. He has to negotiate. Team members wants a leave tomorrow for 3 days. There is a delivery day after tomorrow. He has to negotiate. Vendor wants something. He has to negotiate. There is negotiation everywhere. He wants a resource from his organization. He wants 4 experienced resources. He gets 1 experienced resource and 2 freshers. He has to negotiate to get the right kind of resource so that he can deliver. And also his emotional intelligence. It also has to be there to be able to better perform with. Now, project manager delivers 2 things. He delivers a project and he delivers a product. Now, he delivers this project and the product balancing the 6 competing demands. Earlier, in olden days, we used to call triple constraint, and triple constraint was scope, time and cost, and quality was in between, but it was called triple constraint. But now we are calling it competing demands because it is not only scope, time and cost, it is also quality, resource and risk. Within all these 6 competing demands, he has to deliver his project and deliver the product to the customer that is being agreed upon. We need to understand certain related endeavors. So one of those are called program. Now what is a program? So as per definition, it is a group of projects managed in a coordinated way to obtain benefits not available from managing them individually. Now in organizations, let's say the business objective is to reduce cost by 10%. Now this reduce cost by 10% is not a project. There can be multiple projects involved in them. One project is identifying the less productive people and terminating them. There can be another project where you are improving or revamping the overall IT, as well as maybe if it is a manufacturing unit, you are revamping manufacturing unit, the machines, etc., to improve efficiency and thus reduce cost. Now each of these, or there may be improvement in the process itself. Now all these are different projects, and all these projects are interlinked because it is meeting the same business objective, but somebody has to coordinate between it to make sure that the benefit that is expected to be realized, that is the 10% cost reduction, is ultimately being achieved. Or is there something which says that it is not going to be achieved? Now program management is about making sure that the benefits are realized, and benefits are realized not when the project is running, but once the project is handed over to operations and operations starts using the project, the product or the service. So over the period, the interaction or the dependency between operations and project, the interdependencies between the projects, You are set, IT is changing the ERP where HR is a module, whereas HR by itself has already gone ahead with process change, business process reengineering, and changing their HR policies and bands and everything. Now it is important, number one, that the process to be defined and then that new process gets implemented on the tool, rather than the tool implementing the older process, new process comes in and then again changing the tool for the new process. Or on the other side, you can also look at something like the SME, the critical resource, the HR resource who is critical, who needs to be spending time with the business process engineering team project as well as the project team of the HR system that is getting implemented. Now, how do you balance his time? Now, all these kind of things are done by the program management. And program manager doesn't go into the day-to-day operations of the project. They only see all these interdependencies, benefits, and make sure and see that whether the project is going as per the expected plan. Sub-project is a portion of the main project which is created as a sub-project for better management. Generally, this is done if there is a specialized activity that needs to be done, or maybe in a project you have one vendor or couple of vendors doing different things, so each vendor's portion is put as a sub-project and aggregated into the main project. Then we have portfolio management. Now, portfolio management is about aligning the projects or investment to the business objectives. Now, a project is an investment by the company. Business as usual, that is operations, is also investment. Company has a handful or a basket of money after all, tax, reserves, etc., which it can spare for the particular year. Now, what does the organization do? The organization now has to balance between business objectives to be met and has to balance between the operations and the new projects. Now, operations is about sustenance of the organization. What we spend out of our salary on a day-to-day living, like our food, our clothing, our housing, maybe loan, maybe rent, whatever it is, all these are sustenance. And whatever is left is the money which I can spend on new projects. I can go for a vacation, I can buy a new house, I can buy a car, I can buy a bike, whatever it is. Whatever is my objective that I want to fulfill. So organization also has business objectives, strategic business objectives, and the projects should align to the strategic business objectives. Otherwise, the money is going into a waste. So one is balancing between operations and project. So if you spend more on operations, you have less for new projects. If you spend more on new projects, you have less for operational. Now that is one part. So you need to have a very well-defined process for selecting an idea to approve it as a project and send it for execution. There can be various ways of doing it. There can be financial models, there can be multi-criteria situations to choose the project that is going to be approved, which is part of portfolio management. The second part is the current projects that are running, whether those projects are aligned, or the projects which are approved but has not taken off yet, which is in the pipeline, are those aligned to the business objectives. We should also appreciate that a company's business objectives is not a long-term objective. Even within the year, the company decides and the objective changes. Does the projects that are going on or in the pipeline still contributing to those to the current business objectives? If not, projects have to be decided to be put on hold. So this whole activity of aligning it to the business objectives is about portfolio management, and here we don't only look at financial aspect, but also we look at the risk, we look at the capability of the organization. So a portfolio will have many projects and programs within it. Programs will have sub-programs and projects within it. One more related endeavor that we talk about is the project management office. Now, what is a project management office or PMO? We find so many different ways a PMO is done, so many different activities a PMO does which might not be the right activities. I have seen companies where PMO is actually collecting the timesheet data from the team members and generating or giving it to the finance for invoicing, following up on invoice. They are taking care of the visa and stay for on-site people. Are those activities of PMO that is expected by PMI? No. The main thing here is a PMO is the custodian of the project management process of that organization. What does it mean? It means that the PMO defines the project management process that needs to be followed in that organization. PMO implements that process across all the projects and project managers. PMO trains the project managers on the process. PMO assesses the project managers to see whether they are following the process. If not, to try and find out why they are not following it, and if there is a scope of improvement, they bring it back and make changes to the overall project management process. So there is a continuous improvement. So PMO is a custodian of project management process. Now PMO, again, for the sake of PMP exam, we will be talking about the project management office, but PMO can be program management office, PMO can be portfolio management office, each custodian of the process at that level. Managing shared resources, when we say managing shared resource, it is shared project management resource across projects. Identifying and developing project management methodology, best practices and standards, coaching, mentoring, training and oversight of the project managers, monitoring compliance with the PM standards, policies, procedures and templates through audits that has been defined by them, developing and managing project policies, procedures, template and other shared documents. So all the templates, etc. are being created by the PMO and ensure that those are being used. Coordinating communication across projects. So a project manager focuses on specific project objectives, whereas PMO manages major program scope changes which may be seen as potential opportunity to better achieve business objectives. PM controls the assigned project resource. PMO optimizes the use of shared organizational resource. PM manages constraints, scope, schedule, cost, quality, etc. of the individual projects. PMO manages methodology, standards, overall risk opportunities and interdependence among projects. So project manager is very focused on his or her project only, whereas project PMO is more concerned about the overall competency of project management across the organization. Another idea which needs to be very clear, which we have already talked about earlier, is the difference between project and operations. Project management and operations management. So operations are organizational function performing the ongoing execution of execute activities that produce the same product or provide a repetitive service. So when we are designing a new car, let's say the Mahindra XUV 500 500, when that designing is being done, when the prototype is being done, when the first vehicle is created as for testing, that is a project. But once the test is over and everything is fine and that goes into a normal production routine, the day-to-day production of that car becomes a operation. So when we are implementing a software, or when we are a ERP, or when we are creating a custom software and implementing it, that is a project. But as soon as it gets implemented and is handed over for the users to use, then whatever the maintenance is being done in terms of taking care of user requirements, user issues, how to do it, solving their problems, making some minor changes here and there to suit the requirement, all those activities becomes operations. There is no fixed start and end date for operations. Project has a fixed start and end date. Here there is a unique product in a project, product, service or result. In operations it is a repetitive product. Projects require project management while operations require business process management or operations management, and project can intersect with operations at various points. When we are implementing a software, we have created a new software, there is an existing software which is running, there is an intersection. We need to understand how to stop the work on the existing platform to this new platform that is being created. There has to be a proper thought out plan and then executed properly with a proper backup plan to make sure that there is no problems, the business does not stop. And hence we can go through various processes like doing it pilot, or we can choose locations and things like that, and instead of going for a big bang approach. What is project life cycle? Project life cycle is the period starting from the starting of the project till the closure of the project. It is the phases of different phases within the project life cycle. That is how long from the starting of the project till the end. Now it covers 5 process groups as PMI talks about. It is initiation, that is the starting of it. At this stage what we do is the project is brought into life through a document called project charter. The project charter may be created by the project manager, but it is owned by the project sponsor. So sponsor signs on it and authorizes the project manager to run the project. At the initiation stage, we also do an initial stakeholder identification, and we start on the requirements gathering. And we do the requirements gathering, because once the requirements is gathered, then only the scope can be completely defined. Then we come to planning. Planning is where we create a project management plan. A project management plan is not a MPP. MPP is only called project schedule. A project management plan is a document which contains various subsidiary plans like scope management plan, requirements management plan, schedule management plan, cost management plan, procurement management plan, human resource management plan. There are many. For each of the knowledge areas there is a management plan. So all these subsidiary project management subsidiary plans together become a project management plan. Why do we break it up into phases? So that we can have better control and we can see the progress happening properly. Now depending on the type of a project, we will have multiple different types of project life cycle. However, all will follow the same process, that is initiation, then planning, then we get into execution. When we get into execution, what we do? We actually execute what we have planned. So here the project manager needs to ensure that he gets regular updates through the status review meetings and reports on the progress of the project, and then validate whether the project is going as per plan, and wherever required should get the necessary sign-offs. And once the execution is over, you will go to closure, where you have to do archival of everything, hand it over to the operations, sit with every stakeholder and document the lessons learned. You also need to get the sign off of the closure from the client. If there is a vendor through which you have taken as a performing organization certain services or products, you have to close their part also so that they can get paid. And the whole thing, all the phases that we talked about, across all these phases there is one more phase, which is monitoring and control. So monitoring and control is not a separate independent phase. It is something which is being done across the life cycle of the project, starting from initiation till closure. If you look at it, a construction project may have different phases like feasibility, planning and design, production, turnover and startup. Pharmaceuticals can, for drug discovery, can have like discovery and screening, preclinical development, registration workshop, post submission. Or IT software, we all know requirements gathering, analysis, design, development, testing, implementation. So we can have different life cycles for different types of projects. Now here there is an interesting thing that we need to look at. Now project manager delivers two things. He delivers the product to the customer, and he delivers the project to his own organization. So if you are a company like Infosys or Satyam or Wipro or any of these, where you do work for the external customers, in that case you are delivering your product to the customer, your ultimate customer who will use it. However, there is your internal organization, that is Infosys or Wipro or Satyam, where you are going to deliver the project. That means the internal sponsor, who is your department head, to whom you run and get your resources. You don't go to your customer to ask for a database administrator. You go to your department head to get that resource. So there are two sponsors, the customer sponsor who signs the check, and there is the internal sponsor who gives you the resource. You deliver the product to the customer, you deliver the project to the internal sponsor. So customer is bothered about the scope, that is whatever you have signed off as the detailed requirement and scope should be delivered. So that product that you are giving, so that implementation of the ERP or the customized software that you have developed, that is your product. So customer delivery is about the product. Whereas internally you are responsible to your internal organization to make sure that you deliver your project within the scope, within the time, within the budget that has been specified, within the resource constraints, within the risks that you have identified, and you have created certain contingency reserves for such risks. So you are liable to two different sponsors, and you actually have to deliver much more to your internal sponsor than what you deliver to your external customer. Now when we look at a product, the product also we have to understand the product life cycle. Now project life cycle, we all know that starting of the project till we hand it over to the operations is, and at the closure, that is your project life cycle. However, product life cycle starts with the project when it started. However, it ends when the organization who is using the product decides to stop using it. So let's say if you are implementing a ERP, In your business case, most probably they have said that for calculating the ROI, they have said that they are expecting that this new software that you are implementing will run for the next 10 years before they change that software. So the product lifecycle will be starting from the project till plus the 10 years of operations. Now there is cost of the project, and then there is cost of running it. That is, you need your licenses, you need your maintenance cost, you need your AMCs, you need your hardware and network requirements. All those has to be set up for the product to run and your organization to be able to use it. Now all those costs together is called the product lifecycle cost, and your ROI is generally, or the benefits is generally calculated based on the product lifecycle cost. That is, if you are spending on an over the next 10 years total 2 million, then your return out of this should be more than 2 million. That is how they calculate. So once the running product is sunset or brought to a is taken out of commission, it becomes the product life cycle ends. Now let us get into some details about the course. It's a globally recognized and demanded course. PMP credential is well acknowledged by all organizations across the world, even though Europe and South Africa prefers Prince 2. However, the rest of the world looks at PMP credentials. So clients, colleagues, everybody looks at you as a better project manager if you have a PMP. So as a PMP, you are well positioned to have better acknowledgement of your skill set. Now one thing you have to understand is the PMP credential means that it is certifying that you are a project manager who have the knowledge and skills and knows about the tools and techniques as per the PMI's PMBOK. And that's the reason why the requirement is there is a prerequisite that you have to be a project manager. This is not a course certifying that now you can become a project manager. It is that you are a project manager who practices project management as per the best practice. Now what is this course about? This is the mandatory course for getting the 35 PDUs to apply for PMP. We will provide you support to fill and validate the PMP application form. You will have some mock tests for you to practice and be prepared. You will have online support through mail on questions and clarifications on the PMP exam. You have me as one of the experienced trainers who have gone through at least 1,000 participants who have passed. Forums and other groups to help you continue certification. Here you need to understand that PMP certification is valid for 3 years. At the end, before the end of the 3 years, you need to do two things. That is, one, over the period of these 3 years, you have to collect 60 PDUs. Now there is way of collecting those 60 PDUs, which is going to change also by the end of this year. So you need to do more studies, you need to contribute to the project management community, etc. And second is that you have to pay a minimum fees. Like in India, if you are a member, you pay around $60. If you are a non-member of PMI, you pay $150. We know about PMI. It's a non-profit organization established in 1969. It's headquartered in Pennsylvania, USA. Over 500,000 members worldwide are there, over 171 countries. PMI actively engaged in advocacy for the profession, setting a professional standard, conducting research, providing access to wealth of information. There are many uh, standards, there are many templates which you can use as a project manager, but you can get access to those only if you are a member, not just being a PMP. PMP does not require you to be a member, but it is my suggestion is to be a member and then do the PMP, because in that case you actually get much more than what you pay for. PMI also promotes the career and professional development and other certification. Now there are various certifications and credentials that are available from PMI, like CAPM, which is basically for the freshers, mainly the students of engineering and management. PMP, then you have program management professional, PGMP. Last year they started off with PFMP, which is portfolio management professional. Last year they also started with PMI PBA, which is the professional business analyst. PMI ACP for project management, agile certified professional. Then you have scheduling professional and risk management professional. Now each eligibility criteria are different for each of the. So this exam is a computer based exam which you have to take from the Prometric centers. It is a 4-hour exam. 200 questions are there. 175 are marked. 25 are just for testing out different things. But as a student, you will never know which are those 25. So as far as a student is concerned, you have to answer 200 questions in 4 hours. Now after clearing the exam, you will be able to receive the certificate mail by 2 months. However, whether you have passed or not, you will know immediately at the center itself, and they will give you the transcript. The transcript doesn't give you marks or the percentage that you have got, but in each of the process groups it will say whether you are proficient, moderately proficient, not proficient, like that. It's a 4-hour exam. Once you start the exam, it will continue. If you have to go out for food, for water, for whatever reason, the clock keeps ticking. There is no negative marking. However, the system is very sophisticated, and it has weightages for questions. So depending on how you are answering, it will change the question pattern, in the sense that if you are answering well, it will give more complex questions, and if the more the complex the question, the more weightage it is. If you are not able to answer with complex question, it will give you simpler questions, but the weightage becomes less. Hence, and internally it takes into consideration all of these and then take it forward to give you the total score. So hence there is no score, but it is only pass or not pass and your proficiency level in each of the process groups. And this is developed by a group of individuals who have from around the globe who have PMP credentials. So once you are a member, you are somebody like PMP credential holder, there is a system called vrms.pmi.org where all these kind of volunteering opportunities comes up, and you can volunteer, and you will be you can get PDUs for that also. Now when it is 4 hours, it does not mean that it is 4 hours. There is one survey, one tutorial in the beginning of 15 minutes as to how to do the exam, and then there is another 15-minute survey which is at the end of the exam. So in effect it is like 4.5 hours that you are going to be there. In the exam, if you want, you can mark questions to revisit, and you will be able to revisit the questions that you have marked. It's not that you will be able to revisit every question. And do not use the back button of any browser. You can go forward only using what the system is providing, that exam system is providing, or if you have marked it for revisit, then you can go and revisit. If you are a bachelor's degree holder, that is a graduate, you need 4,500 hours of non-overlapping project management experience over the last 3 years. What does non-overlapping mean? Let's say in our situation we work on multiple projects. Let's say I am working on project A and project B from 1st of July to 31st July. Now if I take 8 hours into 22 days, that is 176 hours, I cannot say 176 hours in project A and 176 hours in project B. I have to say exactly how many hours I have worked on project A and how many hours I have worked on project B. All these work has to be related to the various processes or activities that we will see during the detailed course, which are being considered as project management activities. So if you are coding in a project, or if you are solving problems of your team members as a lead programmer, those are not counted. So only activities which are there in the specific process groups and across knowledge areas, you have to be doing those activities. You can be doing only one process group, or you can do more than one process group. There is no issues. However, it has to be only those activities within those process groups to be considered as a project management activity. And when you fill the application, the 20% of the application that is goes to PMI across the world gets scrutinized. If you don't get scrutinized, you will get your approval within the 5 to 7 days, 7 working days. Whereas if it gets scrutinized, you will get a mail saying that yours is selected for scrutiny, and then they will ask you to upload the certificates, etc. At the same time, they will also call and send mails for confirmation to the references that you have given in your application form for each of the project that you have mentioned there. So if you look at the prices, the $555 is the test exam fee, $375 re-examination fee, and continuing certification is $150. But if you are a member, you can see that it is $405, it is $275 for re-examination and $60 for renewal. So if you look at it, it is $150 less than a non-member. You will be spending an equal amount of money for your membership. It is $129 plus $10 as administration fee, and then there another $10 for minimum $10 for joining a chapter. Now once you do that, your it comes to around $149. So you save that much immediately. If you become a member, you get the PMBOK free. Otherwise you have to buy PMBOK or get hold of a recent version of PMBOK. A PMBOK outside costs around 5,000 rupees. The breakup of the questions is: initiation is around 13%, planning is 24%, execution is 30%, monitoring and control is 25%, and closing is 8%. So you can see there are some testimonials by somebody in USA from Zion's Bank. She's a vice president there. Somebody, Priyanka, is in Target. She's into HR. From Philippines, Gemini. So various organizations, people have come and taken the courses. Excelentro, you can connect by mailing to info@excelentro.com, or you can visit our website at excelentro.com, and there's a query form, and you can get into it for logging into for buying a course. So thank you for listening and hope to be in touch.